Welcome to the Sleep Sense Show. As always, brought to you by the Sleep Sense program, where podcast listeners can get a free customized sleep plan by going to www.sleepsense.net/listen.
Hi, I'm Dana. Welcome to the Sleep Sense Show. I'm going to start today with a little story. I used to see clients in my office back when I used to see private clients. And I remember one particular day where I had 3 clients lined up. I had a mom with a 4-month-old. Later in the day, I had a mom with an 8-month-old. And later in the day, I had a mom with a 2-year-old. And what was unique about that day is the discussion that all 3 of them had with me. When the first one came in with her 4-month-old baby, we talked about what was going on and talked about how we were going to help teach this little one to sleep better. And her question was, well, how do I know if he's legitimately hungry in the night? And so we talked that through and sort of got to a place where she felt okay with what we were deciding to do as far as night feeds go. And on we went. And the next client came in with the 8-month-old and asked the very same question. How will I know if she's hungry in the night? And so we talked it through and she went on her way. And then even the mom with the 2-year-old asked me the very same question. And this little 2-year-old wasn't doing so great with her eating habits during the day. So, of course, mom was really concerned that hunger was an issue in the night. And so that leads me to share with all of you that answering the question of how do you know if your baby's hungry in the night is a very difficult question to answer. And I think it really stems from our sort of primal need to keep our children alive. I mean, basically, if you cut right down to it, keeping your child alive through food is your one and most primary job, right? That's really the most important thing that needs to happen for this child to survive. And so it's biologically built into us as parents that, we need to do this one task. This one task is super important. And so therefore it gets a little tricky when we get into the, 5, 6, 10-month, 12-month and onward age range where we start to think, you know what? I'm not so sure anymore, right? I just don't really know if that's what's happening here. Is it hunger or isn't it? Obviously, if we're talking about the newborn phase, absolutely it's hunger, and just go ahead and feed that baby whenever she wakes up and just know that that's where you are in life at that moment, and that's nothing's going to change there. But when we're talking about older babies, how do we know? So I want to talk today a little bit about the signs or some of the things you could be watching for to sort of help you answer that question. But I just want to start by saying it's very difficult to say with 100% certainty that you are positive that this child is not waking for hunger, isn't feeling any hunger, not happening in the night. I've met very few moms who are that confident in their stand. So you might have to proceed with a little bit of doubt, right? You're not 100% sure that it's not hunger, but you're ready to take it to that next step. Okay, so the first thing to look at is age of the baby. My rule of thumb around this is if you've got a baby that's 6 months or older, you should be having a good look at some other things that are showing up with this baby. And again, if we were working together, you were my client and you had a baby that was 6 months or older, I would be advising you to end the nighttime feeds. Now, obviously, it's worth double checking with your pediatrician. You want to make sure that this child is gaining weight appropriately and there's no underlying health issues going on. But if you feel like you've got, a healthy baby who's gained weight well, there isn't a ton there's not a lot of other reasons why it could be a hunger issue at this point. Now, if you're used to eating in the night, right? Like, think about it. If you were in bed and woke up at midnight with your spouse standing beside you with your favorite meal, you would probably sit up and think, well, this is a little weird, but okay, and eat it all. And you might do it again the next night, and the next night, if he showed up and there it was, you'd probably sit up and eat it. And within a week or two, you might actually start waking up on your own at that hour and feeling a little bit of hunger. I mean, we can absolutely condition our bodies to be hungry at certain times. Should we be eating a meal in the middle of the night? No, absolutely we shouldn't. But we would, right? We're very capable of eating when we shouldn't be eating. So that can happen, that some babies just sort of habitually fall into a nighttime feeding situation. They don't really need it, but they're going to take it if you're going to offer it. So that's typically what's happening with the baby over the 6-month age range. So that's step one. How old is this baby? Under 6 months, it could be a situation where, you still need to do one night feed. It shouldn't really be much more than one night feed if we're talking about the sort of 3 to 6 month age range. If you're doing more than that, you might again kind of take a look at some of the other stuff we're going to talk about today. The next thing you want to look at is what your baby's eating during the day. Now, a common scenario that I hear all of the time is that my baby's not eating well during the day, and therefore I'm feeding him lots in the night. And I get it, I will go back to that primal instinct. Your job is to keep this child alive with food. So you feel nervous about the fact that he's not eating great or as good as you would like during the day. And that tends to show up when we start solids. So usually around the 6-month age range, you're starting to introduce some solid foods into the diet, and some babies take to it really quickly and other babies not so much. And so you might get a little sort of worried or concerned that that's not happening as great as you'd hoped or as fast as you'd hoped. And so now you're kind of relying on nighttime feeds to supplement. Here's some good news though. Very quickly, within a few days, if you pull nighttime calories, a baby will make up those missed calories during the day. That, again, is just biology. Babies' bodies, toddler bodies are super excellent at monitoring calorie need, and if they're running a deficit in any way, they will make it up. They'll start taking it in. It might not happen instantaneously the very next day, but within a few days, the child's body will regulate the need. Now, if you're going to end nighttime feeds in an attempt to encourage better daytime eating, just know that you're going to have to give opportunities to eat throughout the day that are fair and appropriate. And that could be every 3-hour feed schedule, or if your child started solids, every 2 hours, either a feed of breast milk or formula, and 2 hours later, some solids, and so on throughout the day, so that they're getting enough. It's not really that you're pulling a feed, you're just moving a feed, if that makes sense. Or you're noticing that your child is breastfeeding a little longer, or that they need an extra ounce or two in their bottles if they're having bottles. So you're going to replace it. It's just going to be during daylight hours instead of through the night. Okay, so again, feeding a child in the night, right? If we're not talking about too young of a baby here, the 6-month or over age range, in an attempt to get all their calorie needs in, can be fixed really quickly by just reversing that. It's kind of a catch-22 that you're in, and you just have to stop the cycle. All right, what else should we look for? The next thing you want to ask yourself is, how quickly is this baby falling asleep when you feed her? If you go in there, put her on the breast, and within 3 or 4 minutes she's right back to sleep again, that's a pretty good sign that it's not food she's really after. It's more the prop association. Or if you go in there with a bottle and she eats an ounce or half an ounce and then falls right back to sleep, not food at all. That is a prop association, which is our next important topic. The real crux of the issue here, the main thing you need to be looking at, the number one reason why babies aren't sleeping well, is because they have a prop dependency on something external. So I'll break that down for you. So how you fall asleep every night becomes very habitual for all of us. We have strategies, we have little tricks we've collected along the way that help us fall asleep, and that keeps everything stress-free, and you do the same thing every night, and your body gets super used to that. So what happens for babies is that they start to associate feeding with sleep. and they realize that I get on this comfortable, nice, warm breast, or I get this nice, comfy bottle in my mouth and have a snuggle with my mom or dad, and then I fall asleep. And so the food is great, but it's not really the food they're after, it's the sleep, right? If you're super fatigued and it's time for bed, it's not really food, it's sleep that your body is craving. So that becomes then the association that somehow food, breast or bottle, is associated with the journey into sleep. And so that baby, when it has a naturally occurring wake up somewhere later in the night, is most likely going to fully wake up, realize there's no breast or bottle in sight, and start crying. And then you think she's hungry, I'll go in, I'll breast or bottle feed her back to sleep, and on it goes. So if, again, the scenario is that the baby falls back to sleep very quickly after the feed in the night, then that is the problem. That your baby has a feed-sleep association, a feeding prop, let's call it, and that is what needs to be addressed. And the good news is that once she learns to fall asleep without it and use her own independent skills for sleep, she won't need those little micro feeds in the night. She'll just start sleeping through naturally. All right. Another thing to watch for is how long does the baby sleep after you've given the feed? That's another good sign. If you feed baby and she sleeps a good 3 or 4, even 5-hour stretch after the feed, then yes, hunger could have been the reason for her wake up. If, though, you feed her and 45 minutes later or an hour and a half later she's awake again, then you know you've got a prop association going. Right? Because a baby's sleep cycle is about 45 minutes. So if she's waking up every sleep cycle and you're thinking, oh my gosh, why is she hungry every 45 minutes? That is just because she came to the end of a sleep cycle, realized that breast or bottle was not in sight, called for you, you came in and gave her the surefire way to get her back to sleep, and on it goes. Every hour and a half would be a similar scenario. That's just 2 cycles. And really, again, if we're talking about 6-month and up babies here, there is no reason why they should be eating every hour and a half in the night. Even every 3 hours in the night is not, we can do better than that, is what I'm trying to say. Every 3 hours in the night for a 6-month-old, that something else is going on there. Some sort of prop association is happening. So those are the things that I want you to watch for and ask yourself, some of these questions. What's really going on in the night? Is it really hunger? Could it be a sleep prop association? And then make some decisions going from there. If you're pretty sure that it is a feed-sleep association, then great. You're going to pick up a copy of the Sleep Sense program. You're going to work through the steps. You're going to teach this baby how to sleep independently without the food, and that's going to solve 99% of your problems. And the good news is, too, if the baby is of an age where food's not really necessary in the night, there's no real necessity to have calories in the night, then they're going to start having a better quality sleep, right? It's not good for their bodies either to be waking up every 3 hours throughout the night. We know that consolidated, consistent sleep throughout the night, there is little brief awakenings in that night, but it should be so brief that really it's sort of undetectable as far as this baby slept straight through the night. And that's really important, and that's an important piece of her development, and it's going to help her meet her milestones, and all these things are super positive. So it is a good step in the right direction to start addressing this and having a good look. Is it hunger, or could it be something else? Thanks so much for listening today. As always, please sleep well.
Thanks so much for listening. For more great tips on helping your child sleep through the night, remember to subscribe, rate, and review the show on iTunes or Stitcher, and never miss an episode.